You're on a retro trek with the Caramel Apples, a podcast that dials up most impressive stargazing nostalgia from your home planet to the Hoth system, with your hosts Kennedy Rizzo and Cooper Lee.
Impossible. The Sith have been extinct for a millennium. Impossible.
Hello, Orchard Archivers. Thank you for joining us for our Star Wars with a Caramel Twist Prequels of Destiny series episode.
That's right. We're heading back to the faraway galaxy for some star-studded entertainment. This is just the thing we come to look forward to when you're a die-hard Star Wars fan. We hope you're enjoying the ride as much as we are. We have a lot to unpack this week, but as per usual, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss another second of our Caramelicious podcast. Also, be sure to visit us on the Gram, X, and TikTok. Feel free to check out our official website, RetroTrekwithTheCaramelApples.com, for all that's going down in the Retro Orchard.
Okay, thank goodness we don't have to narrow our topics down to just one.
Yeah.
Like for Coop and I, that would be next to impossible.
Exactly. We love to talk.
If it has not been apparent, right?
Exactly.
Seriously, how could you even begin to choose?
You know, I 100% agree with you, Kennage, just based on the simple fact that we are talking about Star Wars. Like, there's no way you could just condense it down to just one show.
I know. Yeah.
That's ludicrous. There's a lot to cover just based on any one of the episodes out of the 6. But lacing them all together, it only adds way more to discuss.
That's right.
So this week's topic is hopefully not seen too far left asteroid field, but we're jumping in with both feet into the Jedi Order.
I'm glad we're giving this some acknowledgement, because after all, this whole story really digs deep into the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as Anakin and his children, Luke and Leia after him, and many, many others.
Yeah, so to be sure, the Jedi Order encompasses all who are Jedi.
See that?
Yeah. So, whereas the Jedi Council is only an active 12-member council, and all who sit on that council are at least a master, and they are selected from within. So, for the tea.
No tea. No tea.
Yes, we're going for the tea. Sorry, Cogsworth.
Cogsworth.
So, the membership wasn't a rotating one. In fact, a vacancy only came around if a Jedi either left the council or unfortunately died or was killed.
Hear that, Palpatine? You need not cast your vote. It will fall on deaf ears.
Right. It's terrible that he tore up that memo just about the time he tossed Anakin's name in the hat.
Oh my God. But of course we know that was no mistake.
Yeah.
We know he was taking liberties as the Sith Lord he was. But although the council is suspicious of Palpatine and concerned for his interest, growing friendship with Anakin, They still didn't have confirmation just yet on who he was.
Yeah, it's really interesting because our first introduction into a Jedi is through old Ben Kenobi on Tatooine in episode 4. The first person to ignite a lightsaber on screen was Luke. As we stated before in our previous episodes.
Right? We don't even know Yoda in episode 4, let alone any other Jedi. But that order is simply, in a word, vast, due to other stories well beyond the movies.
Mhm.
For that matter, the Jedi and the Sith go way back as well. The Sith Order does indeed stem back to the Jedi.
That's true. They view and wield the Force differently, though. So the Sith use feelings and emotions for selfish ends, whereas the Jedi think reason and unselfishly move with it.
That's so cool.
Hmm.
Both believe they are doing things the right way, and if both sides can access it, we can understand why they feel that way.
Hmm.
So it's up to us, the viewers, to really decide which is right and which is wrong. So that's so cool. I mean, some might literally land in the middle of that debate.
Now, the way to wield one of those beautiful lightsabers is simple. Okay, not really.
She got jokes.
According to Qui-Gon Jinn, it's a hard life. In what way, we ask?
Well, it's a known fact that at this period of time, the Jedi aren't completely embraced by everyone.
No, 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 no! No, please! No!
That might weigh on someone a bit. Also, the fact they are encouraged to show compassion, but they are forbidden to fall in love because it leads to attachments, and that cascades to strong emotions, which can lead to fear of loss and suffering. It must become a complete way of life.
Yeah, it's like you can see that play out in real life, right? Like
Oh,
there's
yeah.
just you fall in love with somebody, you do. There's that feeling of protection. You'll go the distance for your person. Like you just see things differently when you're in love with someone.
You're distracted. So, like,
Yep.
if you were on a mission, which the Jedi were, um,
Yes.
in real life, you're on a mission, whatever goals you want to do things in life. Uh-oh, record scratch.
Right.
Here's your person or your SO or anybody, and you're like, well, things have changed.
Yeah, and that's what we saw in this movie.
Hmm.
Um, it's a nice part of the story, but at the same time, because it leads to so much other issues that it's almost like, yeah, it was very misplaced.
Yeah, a
But
lot of conflict. Uh-huh.
yes, but it definitely, we love the story. We love it, so we'll take it all day.
That's right.
But I love the fact that there's hints of real all throughout it. So it is once a Jedi, always a Jedi?
Well, a Jedi can choose to leave the Order without fear of reprisals, and they could choose to return. It's completely up to them. It's just highly unusual for one to do so because of being a part of this order, some since birth.
Yeah, that's an interesting part of it as well, that they can come and go, like there's really nothing that's going to be held against you.
Hmm.
But if that is something that you have known your entire life, you're probably not going to just one day wake up and go, "Yeah, I'm changing what I'm doing." It's like you've been trained a different way, so you're probably not going to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
It'd be interesting how many actually did, if there was ever a count, how many actually left or returned or whatever. I'm sure it's probably in a book somewhere, but
That'd be interesting.
yeah, feel free to weigh in and let us know there on social media if y'all know that. Thank you.
You know the venues.
That's right. I did read somewhere there was a humorous answer to that question, and I completely lost it.
Oh no.
Yeah. Someone said, quote, "Yeah, You gotta return your rat tail and your lightsaber. You can keep the bathrobe though, like a nice hotel.
That's hilarious. Oh my goodness.
I know people are nuts.
They are. I love their spunk and quick wit.
I know. But before we go too far, let's talk about the ranking order for a second.
Okay, sounds good, Coop.
We have initiates who were brought to the Jedi at a young age, even some as young as toddlers or babies. We just kind of touched on that a little bit. And we also talked about it a little bit in our lightsaber episode back when we started running these. Next, we have youngling receives a period of basic training, and they're about 4 to 8 years old.
Oh.
I know.
Also, we have Padawan is an apprentice, and they are assigned to a knight or master to continue training. A telltale sign of a Padawan is the braid in. We saw this with Obi-Wan in The Phantom Menace and Annie in Episode 2, and that age range is about 13 to 15. Oh goodness, teenage years.
Oh, goodness, is right. Those poor masters.
I know. They're like, why did we get this assignment?
Exactly.
We move on to a knight. Passed the Jedi trials and were able to demonstrate a basic level of competence with the saber and the Force. So age kind of depends on this one, but Kenobi was around about 25.
Yes, yes. Okay, moving on. The ranking of master is the highest rank of most Jedi. They maybe range around the age of 40, middle aged. And finally, we have Grandmaster.
Mm.
Yeah, that leads the entire order and has to come from being on the council. So there's no just hopscotching or leapfrogging in this one, right? Like
No way.
ages. And hopefully they don't all have to reach the age of 900 years old.
Right?
But let's just say it's got to be a minute when you're gonna reach this level of grandmaster.
That's hardcore. That's Mac Daddy right there.
It really is.
With this ranking order starting so young, we completely understand why the council didn't want to begin training Anakin at 9.
Yeah,
He's already shown his desperate attachment to his mama.
that's right. And the Jedi Order really is supposed to become your family. Even at that, they try not to get attached to each other in a way that would still make them reckless, being too overly protective and grieving too much when they lose one. They battle all the time. So death is a way of life. It just kind of happens, right?
Uh-huh, yes. And it certainly wasn't Annie's fault he lived so far out in the Outer Rim. Qui-Gon tells his mother, Shmi, if he was in the Republic, he would have been spotted sooner. Oh, yeah. Then wait, it happens again.
Yeah.
History repeats itself with Luke.
Yeah. Yeah. And, he is quite the chip off the old block, being even older when beginning his training.
Yeah.
All of 19 when Obi-Wan starts to bring his awareness to the Jedi way of life.
Something that would have been nice to see, though, Coop, was either Anakin or Luke visiting Elam to mine for their own Kybers.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Visiting the legendary Crystal Caves when they're there for their gathering, there's just so much we as the viewers would have enjoyed seeing. Really, really cool.
Oh, yeah. And something that we do get to see as the viewer is the council torn over Anakin's role in the near future. You have Rogue Qui-Gon with this virgins, this boy who is a little too old to be trained, and he's trying to advocate for Anakin Skywalker.
Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. He is the chosen one. We must see it.
But let's not forget that apparently Qui-Gon Jinn has differed from the High Council before. What a nasty habit, Qui-Gon.
But his attempts are to no avail, at least not within episode 1.
Yeah, we've said it before. It would have been interesting to see Qui-Gon begin Anakin's training.
Hmm.
He found him, believed in him. That would have added so many more layers. We know Anakin always ended up as Obi-Wan's apprentice, but it just would have been really cool to see that Qui-Gon did begin the training even as he maybe got a little older before Qui-Gon was killed off. That still would have worked.
Yeah, it would have, yes.
Yeah. Also curious to have seen who would have been along at the Skywalker Gathering event on Elam, because it's not just one person who goes out there. It's not just one Padawan that goes. So it would have been really cool to see who would have been kind of like in the same class at the same time with either Anakin or with Luke when they're going there and mining for their Kybers. I believe it was normally a few Padawans, as I said, that would go at the same time, and they're facing their own fears. So that would make everyone's experience there different. Even though they're there together, they're facing their own issues at the same time. Everybody would leave feeling differently, I'm sure.
Okay. Well, just because you travel to Elam doesn't necessarily mean you'll leave having found a Kyber.
Mm.
Yeah, maybe one would simply not be ready. The gathering is really rather involved.
Yeah, we mentioned the council, and we know there are a couple really familiar Jedi masters. Mace Windu, with the midi-chlorian count of about 16 to 18,000.
Mm.
He was about 40-ish when we're introduced to him on the Jedi Council. He supposedly dies in episode 3, but spoiler alert, according to Samuel L. Jackson, he is in fact still alive. He did not die.
Awesome.
I giggle every time Master Windu says, "I don't believe the Sith could have returned without us knowing." It's like, why wouldn't this be the wake-up call that they're back?
Right.
This literally could be the wake-up call you've been waiting for. So now, there are other pretty phenomenal Jedi, and Master Windu is considered to be one of them.
This is true. He was rather young when he came to be with the Jedi. All of 6 months old.
You want those little babies?
Isn't that stinky?
Yes.
Well, of course, though, being recognized so young would seemingly bring movement through the ranks sooner as well. He was 28 when he received the honor of council member. That doesn't happen often, as we mentioned.
Yeah. Even younger still, when the council grants Anakin the chair on the council, he's 22 or about 23 ish.
Oh, okay.
This was for the purpose to keep an eye on the Emperor since Anakin is buddy buddy with him. So it gives the appearance that he's on the council, but he's not granted the actual ranking as a master.
Okay.
Fun fact, all young Jedi in training call older Jedi masters when they are at a higher status or of age. And Yoda, the oldest of the council and of the order, he guided and trained Count Dooku, Obi-Wan, Luke Skywalker. We love that we actually see this on screen in Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, truly. Kiadi Mundi is quite recognizable. Midichlorian count of 11,600.
Hmm.
Yeah, he's a Syrian alien who's most recognized by his enlarged conical cranium.
Yes.
They are known to have dark hair, so with Kiadi having gray hair, we know he's old and wise. Also, our opening quote.
Exactly. He is very recognizable. Very recognizable. We've already talked about Qui-Gon, who had a midichlorian count of 12,000. So we get into him way more extensively in our Qui-Gon versus Darth Maul episode. But quickly, we know he trained Kenobi and kind of secretly began training Anakin. So again, he declined the position on the council when selected. But he himself came from the tutelage of Count Dooku, whose range was 13,500 to 14,000 himself, making him a formidable foe.
Hashtag facts.
Uh huh. He actually, that being Count Dooku, shared his own sadness when he learned about Qui Gon Jinn's passing.
Oh, okay.
There's still a heart in there, huh? Who knew?
That is impressive. Now back to Grandmaster Yoda.
Mhm.
He has a whopping 17,700. Okay.
Wow.
He's very old and wise and had many apprentices. And we forgot to mention he oversaw Mace Windu at one time or another.
Oh, that's right.
Uh huh. But as mentioned earlier, thankfully, we witnessed at least one gauntlet training.
You poor Luke. He's the one. So recently, at a 45-year anniversary for Empire Strikes Back, George Lucas was asked about Yoda's speaking backwards. Fun fact about the way that Yoda speaks, George Lucas purposely chose this way of speaking, quote, because if you speak regular English, people won't listen that much. But if he had an accent, or if it's really hard to understand what he's saying, they focus on what he's saying, end quote. He followed up with the fact that Yoda is the philosopher of the movie and he needed a way to get people to listen. Hint, hint, the 12-year-old. That's right. So we also have Jedi Master Yaddle, who has 13,817 as her count. She also serves on the council like Yoda. She's very old, and they are from the same mysterious race, which that is so interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, and by the way, does anyone know what race Yoda, Yaddle, and Grogu are from?
Weigh in.
Yes.
That is a good question, Coop. But as far as we know, there is no familial link between the three.
Hmm.
That is such a letdown for Yoda and Yaddle because who wouldn't want to be related to that sweet baby Gugu?
I know, yes.
Oh, he's stinky.
He is. I will say he's got to be from species adorable.
100%.
He is. Oh my God. He's so cute.
Yeah, you want to kiss on
You
him. So we're getting all distracted here because we'll find him, we'll find blow kisses at him. But anyway,
do.
speaking of baby Grogu, you think of Mando for sure, and it's so cool.
Yeah.
We've got some serious high hopes for the Mando and Grogu movie.
Yeah. So ready to see that one. Just going by what we witnessed in the series, of course. Hopefully, it's what the fans have been on pins and needles for.
Yeah.
But it will be really cool if there's any kind of backstory on the first Mandalorian Jedi, Tar Vizsla. Unfortunately, we don't know his specific midichlorian count, but come on, the creator of the dark saber? We know it was pretty crazy.
Yes.
Is the only Mandalorian Jedi that Star Wars history has previously spoken of. First mentioned in Star Wars Rebels, Tar Vizsla was since become a figurehead for anyone who wields the weapon he so carefully crafted.
Okay.
Not only the first Mandalorian to join the Jedi Order, he's actually the first Mandalore, becoming the leader of Mandalorians. Fun fact, this Jedi came to his end by none other than Darth Maul.
Ooh, that bad Mamma Jamma?
Yeah,
We spoke of him soon before.
yeah, here he is
Oh boy.
again.
But really, there's so much rich history here. And he is this unique character, that being both Jedi and Mandalorian, known for having the unmatched warrior traditions and quite curiously at odds with the Jedi.
Yeah. So this combination is unique and inspiring.
It is.
So, as we mentioned in our lightsaber episode, Vizsla forged that dark saber, which ended up being a relic embraced by the Mandalorian Creed and those who would take up the lead role for their people.
This dark saber was so precious to them that some of the House of Visla stole it and wielding it in a way to bring unification in the culture, and they would use it to strike down any who opposed them. This weapon sounds intriguing, doesn't it?
Really does. It is so cool.
I mean, it would be neat to see it in live action.
Yeah. So, on with more Jedi.
Shh.
The attempted arrest scene of Palpatine has Master Windu, Kit Fisto, who's quite alien looking and a little over 17,000 midichlorian, Ceci 10, who is of 12,600, and Ajin Kolar, likely in that realm as well. All save one is cut down by Palpatine until the end of this scene. But it was most memorable with even Jedi brandishing their sabers at the same time. Beautiful shot. Love the sabers. Love that shot.
Oh, 100%. Despite the reluctance of the Council and Mr. 27,000 midichlorian count himself, Anakin training and becoming a Jedi.
Yeah.
He superseded all of their hopes and dreams by becoming the most powerful Sith Jedi they'd ever seen. If only they had cultivated that soil like Sidious had done. Who knows what would have happened?
Yes. Exactly. And part of the issue really could have been the Jedi were way too involved with the current situation of the day, not wanting to be, that's not really what they wanted. But Palpatine had them right where he wanted them.
He's something else.
He was, like we said before, you needed caution tape around him.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. The Jedi were already stretched way too thin. But if all that had changed, we would not have had Star Wars. So bring on the Discord, I guess.
That's right. That helps keep our brains occupied while we watch.
Exactly. We enjoy it. Fun fact, the number of Jedi Knights are likely around 10,000 at one time, but the number is greatly reduced by Order 66.
Okay, so obviously after that order, Darth Vader continued to hunt down Jedi. By the end of Return of the Jedi, the number is still very small.
Yeah, but we've been able to investigate this a bit through the other series. Of course, The Force Awakens truly opens up to much more storytelling from the Disney side of things, if that be to your liking.
The verdict's still out on that.
Mhm.
When it comes to Jedi, love them, empathize with them, or cut them down. The fact remains the Jedi are now part of movie magic in this space juggernaut Star Wars.
Oh dear. That's it for this week's Orchard Trek Retro, and we're more than a few parsecs out. Need a podcast to listen to on the way to Tashi Station to pick up power converters? Maybe one not fluid in bocce? Plug into the Retro Orchard as Kennedy and Cooper share more retro goodness in our Star Wars with a Caramel Twist Prequels of Destiny series. We have a good feeling about this.